Well, fresh off a contentious confirmation process, our next guest finds himself in the center of Trump diplomacy. We are happy he's here tonight for his first interview since being confirmed ambassador to Germany, Rick Grenell. Does it feel weird to have ambassador now in front of your name?
When I hear ambassador, I look for John Bolton
right.
or John Negroponte. I'm looking over my shoulder to see who it is. But
well, it's you now, and
yeah.
You referenced because obviously you served many years at the United Nations, so you come at this with a depth of knowledge and experience. You're ready to go, but it took a long time to get here. I mean, you passed out of the committee twice before you ever got to the Senate for a vote. Democrats tried to hold you up, including Senator Merkel. Now, I want to play a little bit of what he said about why he did and give you a chance to respond.
Cannot in good faith support a nominee who has a lengthy track record of tweets attacking both prominent Democratic and prominent Republican women.
He also said he didn't think that you are taking the Russia threat seriously.
Yeah. Look, I'm extremely excited to be confirmed. I'm going to be very diplomatic here. I wanted to talk to every senator and show them who I was, show them my writings. My writings are very clear. If you look at everything that I've talked about with Russia and the Russia threat, I've talked about the Russian threat in Eastern Europe for a very long time. I would argue that I was one of the first people to really call attention to what was being done to Voice of America and Radio Free Europe by the Russians. And so there's been a long threat there. And I wish that people would dig deeper and not just look at kind of surface issues.
So you had to jump right in today because obviously the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, was here today meeting with the president. You were with them as well. Let's talk a little bit about the president is always bringing this up with our NATO allies. Here he is talking today about getting to that 2% of GDP that all NATO allies are expected to do.
Other countries should be paying more. I mean, we're protecting Europe, and yet we pay by far more than anybody else. And NATO is wonderful, but it helps Europe more than it helps us.
So he said he's not singling out Germany, and they have said their next budget will be at 1.3%. But that's one of the things, obviously, you'll be in the middle of those conversations.
Yeah, and this is an important issue. There's no question about it. I think candidate Trump was very clear about trying to get the 2% to be a top issue. I saw it up close today. He's a master negotiator. President Trump is very good at what he does. And in negotiating about this issue, he's very tough. He's very fair. He points out details in negotiations. I think we're seeing that when it comes to the North Korea-South Korea issue. Here's a guy who understands that having just a threat of military action is not enough. It needs to be a credible threat. He's empowered the diplomats. He really does see diplomacy, if it's with someone who's tough, you can avoid war. You can accomplish things if you have diplomats that are tough. So watching him up close as the master negotiator today, for me, just really solidified why I early on wanted to support President Trump and candidate Trump, who became President Trump. It was a great process today. And I think he understands that we have this unbreakable bond with Europe, specifically with Germany. He complimented Chancellor Merkel many times. It was really, I think, a day for the Germans to see up close yet again. And President Trump knows the details on tariffs, on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is a very serious issue. He would bring these issues up. It was very tough, very clear, but also very fair.
Well, and I know that they're talking about the Iran nuclear deal. Obviously, our European allies want that deal to stay together. The president has an important date coming up to talk about that, about whether or not the U.S. will formally stay a part of that deal. But you said even with all the tough talk and these uncomfortable issues they had today, behind the scenes, there was a real camaraderie with the two.
Yeah, look, at the end of the press conference, the president and the vice president both invited Chancellor Merkel, myself, and a couple of other people up to the residence to tour and to give a very specific, detailed explanation of every room up there. It was extremely warm. Chancellor Merkel hadn't done that. No previous president had taken her up there. She got to go into the Lincoln bedroom and see the Gettysburg Address. And President Trump really took time with the chancellor. And I think that the entire team really appreciates the fact that he can be very tough on the negotiation and he can be very charming. He's got a very good charm offense.
I got to ask you, much was made during this whole process through your nomination, the fight through the confirmation multiple times, about the fact that you are openly gay and probably considered one of the highest ranking members within the Trump administration, now officially as ambassador. Do you feel any added pressure or attention because of that?
No, I've been gay my whole life, so I'm very used to it. No, it doesn't make any difference to me. I mean, in my mind, I supported candidate Trump. He saw me up front and close about who I was. I have a great resume when it comes to diplomacy. I think it doesn't matter.
All right, so pretty soon you make the move.
Yes,
the ground running, and that vacancy's been there a little bit. Do you feel like it'll take some time to build those relationships back diplomatically?
Well, certainly I'm going to work around the clock to do that. Working at the UN for 8 years, I'm reminded every day that the Germans and the Americans are on the same side on most every issue. I mean, when you work at the UN and you see the world the way it is, you're reminded that when it comes to liberty and human rights and a whole bunch of issues, we're on the same page. So I want to remind people that we have difficult issues to work through, but we are on the same team.
Well, it's been a long road for you, but now we congratulate you as you go to represent our country, all of us across the spectrum, as with a very important ally. We wish you all the best.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks for stopping in.